There's a moment a lot of people hit somewhere in their 40s. You wake up and your back is stiff, for no reason. You eat the same way you always have, and the weight doesn't move like it used to. You get through the day, but by 3 p.m., your brain feels like it's wading through mud. And the scary part isn't any one of those things. It's that they keep showing up together, and they keep getting a little worse every year. Most people just shrug and say, that's aging. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Aging isn't one single thing happening to your body. It's the result of a handful of daily habits, repeated thousands of times, quietly adding up in the background. And that means the reverse is also true. A handful of daily habits, repeated consistently, can slow that whole process down. Not stop time. Nobody can do that. But you can absolutely change how your next 20 or 30 years feel in your own body. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do every single day after 40 to protect your energy, your muscle, your brain, and your metabolism. Not a fad. Not a supplement stack. Just the specific daily actions that the research keeps pointing back to again and again. And I'll explain the why behind each one, in plain language, so this actually sticks with you, instead of just being another list you forget by tomorrow. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Amelia Stone. I'm a double board certified physician, and my goal with this channel is simple. Give you the real science behind aging and health, without the fear-mongering and without the hype. And as always, this is educational content, not personal medical advice, so talk to your own doctor before making any changes. Let's get into it. Here's the thing you need to understand first, because it changes how you think about everything else in this video. After 40, your body isn't failing, it's just getting less signal. Let me explain what I mean by that. Your muscles, your mitochondria, your hormones, your brain, they all respond to daily inputs. Movement, food, sunlight, sleep, stress. When you're younger, your body is forgiving. You can skip the workout, eat poorly for a week, stay up too late, and bounce right back. But somewhere around 40, that margin shrinks. Your body starts responding much more literally to what you actually do each day. Skip the signal, and the systems that keep you strong and sharp start to quietly downgrade. Send the right signal consistently, and those same systems respond, often faster than people expect. So this isn't really about fighting aging. It's about giving your body the daily inputs it's been asking for the whole time. And once you see it that way, the fixes stop feeling complicated. Let's start with the first one, because it might be the single most underrated daily habit for anyone over 40. Move your body first thing, before anything else takes priority. Not necessarily a full workout, though we'll get to that. I'm talking about simple movement within the first hour or so of waking up. A walk, some stretching, even just standing up and moving around the house instead of reaching for your phone in bed. Here's why this matters so much biologically. Overnight, your body's insulin sensitivity, meaning how well your cells respond to insulin and pull glucose out of your blood, is naturally a little lower first thing in the morning. That's normal. But movement is one of the fastest ways to switch that back on. When your muscles contract, they pull glucose out of your bloodstream, using a transporter called GUT4, and this happens largely independent of insulin. In simple terms, movement gives your body a shortcut to managing blood sugar, and using that shortcut early in the day sets a better metabolic tone for the next 12 hours. There's also a circadian piece to this. Morning light exposure combined with movement helps anchor your internal body clock, which affects your energy, your hormones, and your sleep quality that same night. Most people completely overlook this because they think exercise only counts if it's intense and it's at the gym. But research on something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is just all the movement you do that isn't formal exercise, shows it can account for a huge portion of your daily energy expenditure and metabolic health. So the daily habit here is simple. Move your body, ideally outside or near a window, within the first hour of your day. That's it. But that's only part of the story, because what you do with your muscles later in the day matters just as much, maybe more. Which brings us to the second daily habit, and this one might be the most important thing in this entire video. Resistance training, or at minimum, loading your muscles against some kind of resistance, several times a week. Here's why muscle matters so much more after 40 than people realize. Starting in your 30s, and accelerating after 40, you begin losing muscle mass and strength in a process called sarcopenia, and it can add up to 3 to 8% loss per decade if you don't actively work against it. But muscle isn't just about looking fit or being strong enough to open a jar. Muscle is one of the most metabolically important tissues in your entire body. It's actually the largest site of glucose disposal you have. That means the more muscle you carry and use, the better your blood sugar control, the better your insulin sensitivity, and the lower your long-term risk of metabolic disease. Muscle also acts like a reserve tank for illness, injury, and aging itself. People with more muscle mass recover faster from surgery, from falls, from being sick in bed for a week. And here's what might surprise you. Research on adults in their 80s and even 90s has shown that muscle still responds to resistance training at almost any age, as long as the stimulus is strong enough and consistent enough. So the excuse of "I'm too old to start" simply doesn't hold up scientifically. The daily habit doesn't mean lifting weights every single day. It means treating strength as a non-negotiable part of your week. 2 to 3 focused sessions hitting your major muscle groups, legs, back, chest, shoulders, with enough resistance that the last few reps genuinely challenge you. If nothing challenges the muscle, the body has no reason to preserve or build it. On the days you're not formally training, simple things like carrying groceries, taking the stairs, or doing bodyweight movements at home all still count as signal. What happens next may surprise you though, because muscle alone isn't the whole picture. There's a second system running quietly in the background that determines how much energy you actually have to use that muscle in the first place. That system is your mitochondria, the tiny energy-producing structures inside almost every cell in your body. Your mitochondria take in oxygen and nutrients and convert them into ATP, which is the actual usable energy currency your cells run on. Your muscles need it, your brain needs it, your heart needs it. After 40, mitochondrial number and efficiency both tend to decline, and this is one of the core biological drivers behind that feeling of just having less gas in the tank, even when you're technically getting enough sleep and eating reasonably well. But here's the encouraging part. Your body can generate new mitochondria in response to the right daily signal, and that signal is a mix of two specific things: regular aerobic movement and occasional higher intensity effort. This is called mitochondrial biogenesis, and it's one of the most well-documented adaptations in exercise science. A daily brisk walk keeps your baseline aerobic system engaged, but layering in short bursts of higher effort a few times a week, whether that's faster intervals, cycling hard for a minute, or climbing a hill, sends a much stronger signal for your body to build new mitochondria and make your existing ones more efficient. The daily habit here is simple to describe, even if it takes some discipline to keep. Move your body every single day, mostly at an easy, sustainable pace, and let a few of those sessions each week include a genuinely harder push. You're not just burning calories in that moment. You're teaching your body to produce more usable energy for the rest of your day, every day. And this connects directly to the third daily driver of aging that most people don't think about at all, which is the low-grade inflammation running in the background of your body around the clock. The term for this now, it's called inflammaging, and it describes how your immune system, as it ages, tends to become less precise. Instead of only firing when there's a real threat, like an infection or an injury, it starts producing a steady low level of inflammatory signals even when nothing's actually wrong. These signals are molecules called cytokines, things like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, and you can think of them as your immune system sending text messages. Occasionally that's useful. Constantly it becomes a problem, because chronic low-grade inflammation interferes with hormone signaling, slows muscle recovery, and worsens insulin resistance, which means it quietly accelerates the very processes we've just been talking about. So where does this daily inflammation actually come from? A few very identifiable places: poor sleep, chronic unmanaged stress, a diet heavy in ultra-processed foods, and visceral fat, which is the deep abdominal fat that sits around your organs. Visceral fat isn't just passive storage. It's biologically active tissue that actively releases inflammatory signals into your bloodstream. So the more visceral fat someone carries, the higher their baseline inflammation tends to run, and the harder every other system in the body has to work just to keep up. This is why the daily habit here isn't a single action. It's a pattern of small choices repeated constantly. Prioritizing whole, minimally processed foods, with enough protein and fiber at each meal, most of the time. Not perfection, just a shifted baseline. Because fiber in particular feeds the bacteria in your gut that help regulate inflammation, and protein helps preserve the muscle we already talked about, which itself lowers inflammatory markers over time. But that's only part of the story, because there's a piece of this that catches almost everyone off guard, and it has to do with your stress response. When you're under chronic stress, your brain activates something called the HPA axis, which is essentially your hormonal chain of command for releasing cortisol. A little cortisol at the right time is completely normal and healthy. But when it stays elevated day after day because stress never really resolves, it starts breaking down muscle tissue, it worsens insulin sensitivity, and it disrupts your sleep, which then feeds right back into more inflammation the next day. This is why daily stress regulation isn't a soft, optional wellness add-on. It's a direct biological lever. And the encouraging research here is that you don't need an hour of meditation to move the needle. Even short, consistent practices, slow breathing for a few minutes, time outdoors, a short walk without your phone, have been shown to lower cortisol and markers of inflammation when done regularly. The daily habit is choosing one small stress-regulating practice and actually doing it every day, rather than an elaborate routine you only do once a month. Consistency beats intensity here, every time. Now let's talk about sleep. Because if I had to pick one daily habit that touches every single system we've discussed so far, it would be this one. Sleep is where a huge amount of your daily repair work actually happens. Muscle protein synthesis, meaning the rebuilding of the muscle tissue you broke down during training, happens largely during deep sleep. Testosterone release in men is heavily concentrated during sleep as well. So chronically shortened or poor quality sleep isn't just making you tired the next day, it's directly cutting into hormone production at the source. In women, sleep quality and hormonal balance are even more tightly linked, especially heading into perimenopause, when disrupted sleep and shifting estrogen levels can start feeding off each other. On top of that, sleep is when your brain clears out metabolic waste through a system called the glymphatic system, which research increasingly links to long-term brain health. Miss that nightly cleanup consistently, and it adds up. So the daily habit isn't complicated, it's just consistently underrated. Aim for a regular sleep and wake time, even on weekends, because your circadian rhythm rewards consistency far more than it rewards one great night followed by 3 mediocre ones. Dim the lights in the hour before bed, keep your room cool and dark, and treat those 7 to 9 hours as a genuine daily requirement, not a luxury you get to if everything else goes well. Most people plan their entire day around work and errands and family, and then sleep gets whatever time is left over. After 40, that priority order needs to flip, because sleep is the multiplier that determines how much benefit you actually get from every other habit on this list. Let's bring this back to hormones for a moment, because this is where daily habits and biology intersect in a really direct way. In men, testosterone declines gradually starting around age 30, roughly 1% per year, and testosterone isn't just about reproduction. It supports muscle maintenance, insulin sensitivity, mood, motivation, and cognitive sharpness. One of the biggest daily accelerators of low testosterone is again visceral fat, because fat tissue contains an enzyme called aromatase that converts testosterone into estrogen. So reducing visceral fat through the daily habits we've already covered, movement, resistance training, better food choices, is one of the most effective natural ways to support healthy testosterone levels, often before anyone even considers other interventions. In women, the picture changes especially during perimenopause, which for many starts in the early to mid-40s, as estrogen and progesterone begin to decline, sometimes quite quickly. Estrogen plays a protective role in bone density, brain function, cardiovascular health, and sleep quality, so its decline can show up as increased abdominal fat, disrupted sleep, and brain fog seemingly all at once. Daily habits like resistance training, quality sleep, and stress management absolutely help here too, but it's worth saying clearly. Lifestyle supports hormonal health, it doesn't fully replace it. For many women, a conversation with your doctor about hormone therapy is worth having, especially with more recent research suggesting that when started earlier in the menopause transition, the risk and benefit picture looks quite different than older studies once suggested. That's a conversation for you and your physician, based on your own history, but it's one worth not skipping out of outdated assumptions. So let's pull this all together into something you can actually use starting today. Move your body first thing in the morning to set your metabolic tone for the day. Build and maintain muscle through resistance training a few times a week, because muscle is your best long-term defense against blood sugar problems and physical decline. Keep your aerobic engine running daily, with occasional harder efforts to keep your mitochondria producing energy efficiently. Eat in a way that lowers your baseline inflammation, mostly whole foods, enough protein, enough fiber, without chasing perfection. Regulate your stress daily, even briefly, because chronic cortisol quietly undoes a lot of your other efforts. And protect your sleep like it's a non-negotiable appointment, because it's the foundation everything else depends on. None of these are extreme. None of them require you to overhaul your entire life overnight. What they require is repetition. Small signals sent to your body every single day that consistently say, keep this muscle, keep this energy, keep this sharpness, we still need it. Because that's really what this entire video comes down to. Your body isn't asking you to reverse time. It's asking you to keep giving it a reason to hold on to what it already has. And when you do that consistently, the difference over 1, 5, and 10 years is enormous. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit like, so this reaches more people who are trying to figure this out just like you are. Subscribe if you want more videos like this one, breaking down the real science behind healthy aging without the hype. And if you know someone in their 40s or 50s who needs to hear this,